Hi everyone. Hope you all are having a good time. So, in continuation of our last video, CSS, we're going to see further. So, as you remember, last time we have seen very important things about CSS. What is CSS and why it has been used? Right? It is used for beautifying your web page. And selectors in CSS. We have seen the various types of selectors in CSS and how to use it in CSS, right? As well as we have seen syntax. So what were the selectors? There were element, selector, ID, selector, class, universal, and grouping. So why it has been used and for what purpose it is used and how to use it, we've seen all those things. Today we're going to see how to load and add CSS in your HTML page. Okay, so again, one of the very important things, because there are three ways to add CSS in add CSS. Okay, so what are those three ways? Those are inline, internal, and external CSS. So one by one today we'll look what are this and how to add this, okay, in your web page. So first, if you remember, I'll quickly run our web page, which we have created last time. So it was something like this. And if you remember, we applied over here some style, right? We applied some style, which was containing some sort of CSS to H1 tag and to paragraph tag, because we have used it below, right? So also we applied classes and IDs over there to check what is a difference between them and how it works, right? So simply again, I'll put H2 is there with me. So for H2, I will put color as a red, something like this we did last time, right? And now what will happen if I put color as red for H2? The H2 tag in your web page will have color red, right? So if I run this and if I go and execute it, so I'll just double run this. So see what will happen. Why something is went wrong? Let me see. Style and okay, I have not closed the style section, and that's why maybe no. Yeah, here we go. So did you see this was my H2 tag, and only H2 tag is having color red because I've applied only H2 as red, and rest of all are simply black. There is class info I've written over here, but I've not done anything to this class info, right? If for example, if I go and remove this element with a class name, and how do we write class name? Proceeding with a dot, right? And if I go and run it, what will happen? Wherever I've applied my class will turn into red, and wherever there is no class will remain black, right? So if you see, my first paragraph was not having any sort of class or ID, that's why it is black. And over here, this was having ID as important, right? So only the last paragraph was having ID, and rest of all were having classes. So that's why the last is also black. If I, because I've not given any color to my ID. If, for example, if I just write this over here like this, and I'll write, give my ID name over here. What was my ID name? Important. And I change the color to, for example, green. Then the last paragraph will look green, right? So this various things and various combinations we saw last time. So now we are going to see what is inline, internal and external. So what is this form which we have written or which we have practiced last time and also we saw right now is called as internal CSS. We have applied CSS, right? So there are three forms for applying CSS: internal, inline, and external. So this form is called as internal. Internal means you apply the CSS in the specific page. So this CSS, which we are writing in the head section, right, by inside the style element or style tag of HTML. So this particular CSS is used for applying styles on this page wherever you want. Okay, whether it is a paragraph, whether it is a whether it is some classes in the body, whether it is ID in the body for some elements, whatever, right? So you can apply styles in this page specifically. So this is called as internal CSS, and this is how we write. We write internal CSS inside our head section of our HTML page, right? So this is what called internal CSS. So if I go quickly and if we see what is internal CSS, so internal CSS is, it can be used if one single HTML page needs to be styled, okay? And it is defined inside style element, style tag inside the head section, which we've already seen. Something like this, right? Okay. So this is internal. So then what is inline and what is external CSS? So inline CSS means we are specifically giving style to a particular element. Okay, we don't want to give style to the whole page. We are only interested to give style, or means to apply style, some sort of beautification to some particular element. Okay, so say whenever I'm telling give style means we are adding style, we are applying style to that page or to that element or whatever. Okay, so for example, if this is H1 and if I want to give only, I want to decorate or, beautify my H1 tag, rest all I don't want. I don't have any sort of anything to do with those things. So this, what I'll do is I'll write style here itself, right? What we do in internal, we give style tag, right? So here similarly, we have to write that we are applying style to we have to tell the element that we are applying CSS style. Whenever there is a word style in your HTML page, that means it is CSS. Okay. So for telling your H1 tag that we are going to apply CSS to you now, so you have to write style and then equal to, and your normal syntax of CSS. How you give color, then colon, and for example, we give navy blue. Sorry. Okay. And then you can give a semicolon as well. Okay. And let's check it now. And I'll remove my internal one. Okay. I don't need now internal because I have applied external, inline style to my page and inline to only a specific element which I'm interested in. So if I go and check now, can you see only this is in navy blue color and all rest of all is in black. For example, I want one of my paragraph also to be, some sort of style. I want to give some sort of color to one of my paragraph. The same thing I'll do. Okay, what I'll do is equal to, and for example, I want to just, okay, let's give color only. So for example, I want to give green and then semicolon and just let's see how does it looks. Yeah, only this paragraph changed to green. So this is how we apply inline. Inline is to the specific element, right? To the specific element. But see, remember, this is not good practice to apply CSS. Okay, inline CSS is in very rare cases where it is necessary. In some of the very rare cases, we can use it, but this is not good. We can say to apply inline CSS because everywhere you have to write the syntax and you have to go on applying separately everywhere for every tag, right? For example, suppose in further someone tell me that your all H1, all the header tags should contain this particular thing. Okay, this style. So if you're using inline CSS, then what you'll have to do is you have to write the same thing everywhere. Over here as well. You'll have to write over here as well and here as well. Why? Because these are all my header tags which I'm using in my file, right? So I have to write everywhere. So what is the use of writing everywhere, right? It doesn't look good. It creates duplication as well as when you're seeing your page, it's not looking good, right? So that's why it's a good practice to use inline CSS, right? So in internal CSS reduces your work, right? If you want to apply this thing for all the H1 tag, what you can do is you can simply write H1, H2, H3 over here, like this, H1, comma H2, and what was that, H5, right? And then you can give the same property over here as well. It was a property, the property and the value, the property was color, and I want it in the navy, right? So you can give the same thing over here. How do we give? We don't give like this, right? We give it like this in internal, right? And then we don't need to write anything over here, isn't it? So isn't it more effective? Internal is more effective than your inline CSS, right? So that's why it reduces your time as well, and it looks good as well. Everything is defined. If I save it and if I run it, you can see change, right? No, something has happened. It has printed as it is because I've not applied my style block over here. You have to write everything inside style, because how your HTML page will understand that you are applying style sheets, right? So wherever you are defining your CSS, whether it is internal or inline, you have to specify style. In case of internal, we write inside the style element inside head tag, and when it is inline CSS, at that time we write over here in that specific tag style equal to and whatever property you want to give. Right now it will change its color. Here we go, right? So this is all blue in color, and only this is green because this all header tags are in blue color, and the paragraph tags are all blue. Uh, Living one. This is in green. Why it is in green? Because I guess we have applied inline CSS to that. Okay. So it doesn't matter that it's not a compulsion that you have to use only inline CSS at a time or internal CSS at a time. As you can see, I've applied inline CSS as well and internal CSS as well at one time in my one page, right? So this is possible. You can do this as well, but I don't think it is also good practice, right? It's a mixture of all CSS together, and then you will end up getting confused at the end that what is actually where. So it's better to have at least means one thing in your web page. If it is internal, then keep it internal throughout the page, or if it is inline, then inline. Okay, so this is how inline CSS works. So let's see quickly. Inline. So an inline style may be used to apply a unique style for a single element, as we saw. And an inline style is written inside the element tag where it has to be applied. For example, we applied it in H1 tag and we applied in paragraph tag. So wherever you want to apply inline in that particular element, you have to go and write it. Example I've given over here, H4 is equal to style color blue and text align equal to center. Now we have seen we are applied colors everywhere, right? Similarly, like colors, there are a number of CSS like text alignment, like your width, your height ratio, then your padding, your margins, and so on and so forth. So there are a number of CSS which can be used for applying on your elements, right? Okay, so this was the example, and then let's see what is external CSS. Okay, so an external CSS means, as the name suggests, you would have got some sort of idea that what can be this external CSS. This was internal, this is inline. Then what is external CSS? External CSS means you have to define your CSS in a separate file. Okay, the CSS is nowhere over here, right? So that your code, your HTML code look more clean, right? If you are not applying CSS here as well, here itself, right? And if you're applying it somewhere else in some separate file, then your code will look more cleaner and more good when someone will see, right? And or you can say when you yourself see. For that, we have external CSS, and one of the biggest advantage of external CSS is that you can apply your external CSS to not only single web page, but many web page at a time, right? So when I was telling you about internal CSS, I told you that this is specified, or this is uh, aimed to design or to style only the particular page where it is written, right? This internal CSS. Whereas when you're writing, defining external CSS, that CSS, since it is in a different page, you can apply it on number of web pages at a time. Okay, how we will see it. So now I'll quickly create a new file where my external CSS will be, and I'll save this file as, for example, I'll write something and say for example, my style. Okay, my style dot CSS. This is my CSS file, so the extension will be CSS, and save it. And remember, this is not a HTML document. This is purely a CSS file, external CSS file. So you don't have to give any tags of HTML. What you'll do is you'll start directly writing your CSS. How? What we did over here, we have applied H1, H2, H5 for H1, H2, H5 color to this all headers, right? So we can simply write the same CSS of headers to in your external page. Okay, and no need to write it over here inside your head section. Okay, and no need to write it over here inside your element. You can simply go and write into a separate file and name it as CSS. Okay, and save it. But how this web page will know that you have applied this external CSS, right? As we've seen earlier, that for telling your web page, we have to write style, right? So that your web page understand, okay, style means, okay, we've applied CSS, internal CSS. If I'm writing style over here and giving something, then okay, we've applied inline CSS. And how this web page will understand that now there is an external CSS to be applied. For that, we have to give a link in your web page or in your HTML document, right? So there is a link tag which tells that there is a link of external CSS in this page, okay? And this will help your web page to know that there is something external CSS which has to be applied on this particular web page. Okay, so link is equal to, this is a syntax for link. You have to give relation to it as a style sheet. What is the relation of this link to your page? It is a style sheet, right? So style sheet, and then comes your actual reference, your path. So my path is my, what I've done, equal to my style is my name of CSS, and why I'm making lots of spelling mistakes today. Okay, so my style of CSS is my name of my page, and I've saved in the same folder if you've seen, right? So now let's save it. Now my file, my web page has understand, okay, this is a CSS which has been linked to me, and then this has to be applied on the body of the web page, right? So if I save it and if I go and run it, see what will happen. The color is blue. It was before also it was blue. So let's change it to something else, then you will understand it more clearly. So I'll change it to maybe orange, and let's see how does it look. Here we go. It has changed its color to orange, right? So similarly, you can write anything over here. For example, you can write uh, any sort of, you can give two paragraph also. Same thing, what we have done in internal, the same tags and the same syntax is there. Only the difference is that you are using that syntax and syntax in a separate file, and you're linking that file to your web page. That is all your external CSS means. Okay, so here we go. It has changed to gray, right? So this is how we apply external CSS to a document. Got it? So is it clear what is inline, internal, and external? It's quite interesting and very simple. Once we go further, we'll practice more. We'll use more these things, and you'll get more clear about this, right? So there are many CSS, lot of options in CSS to which we can use for designing and for beautifying our web page. Which we will see in our coming video. Till then, I want you to practice what we have done so that you understand it better, right? Okay. Thank you.